Viewers, welcome back to the Personal Injury Law Show. It's that time of the show. We've got Kathy's mailbag. Good evening, Kathy. How are you?
Good evening, Tony. Good, thank you. How are you?
Good. What did you think of the show?
Great, Kathy.
I thought Emma was great. Very informative. And, you know, I did not know that bicyclists could have insurance. I think that's fabulous and that everyone should be involved.
I think what we highlighted was the fact that not only should they be insured to protect themselves, but they should cover themselves for anyone they may injure.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
that's right. Yeah, no, it does follow
Because
on.
there's a lot of pedestrians getting hit as well.
Can I just also take the time to follow on from what Emma was saying? I mean, she provided quite informative advice, but I think it's really important to remind all viewers that all accidents that incur with bicyclists should be treated the way that akin to car accidents in terms of the details that you take down. So don't forget to take people's registration, licence
That's
details.
a very good point,
So-
Kathy. It's fundamental that if you get hit, I know you might not be feeling too flash at the time, but you've got to get exchange names, you've got to get number plates, check the licence numbers.
Witnesses.
Yeah,
You get photos, Tony, these days with these mobile phones, you get camera phones of the accident scene. Also, Tony, of bruising. I would suggest first of all, get treatment, medical treatment. But even if you take
But at the
photos of
scene,
bruising,
Don,
if you've
the
got
key
bruising,
element that we had to highlight was the fact that there's no point just saying I got hit by a car and you've got no details, because then there might be a question of whether they believe you. They might turn around and say that you fell off the bike.
And the other thing too is to actually check their licence, the driver's licence. If you're hit by a vehicle, involves a vehicle, check the driver's licence.
That's right.
Well, following on from what you said with the smartphones, you can actually take pics on them and email them to yourself. So just make sure, as hard as it is, and obviously you're going through an anti-shock at that time, just try to remember to take down those details because we need them.
Let's get these questions
So,
down.
okay, well, we're going to move on to our first question tonight, and this comes from Josh from Brunswick. It's DPI show. I work as a full-time bicycle courier in Melbourne for the past 4 years. About 2 weeks ago, I was riding in the city and on the way back to the depot to pick up my next delivery when I was struck from behind by a taxi. I was knocked off my bike and slid into the curb quite hard, breaking my left arm and spraining my left ankle quite badly. They're not very good injuries, Josh, but what's happened is that the taxi driver took him to hospital and treated him immediately. Josh says that he hasn't been able to return to work yet, and he's looked into both TAC and work cover, and he thinks that he might be eligible under both systems, but wants to know his rights. Now, Don, we know that it's a little bit complicated. You can't really double dip in terms of TAC and work cover, but can you advise Josh in this instance?
Well, I think in those circumstances, he's entitled to work cover entitlements because the injury happened during the course of employment. He has no entitlements for no-fault benefits under the TAC system. They're covered under the work cover no-fault system, which includes obviously medical expenses, wages, and also an impairment if it's sustained a permanent impairment. So first thing he has to do, Tony, would be lodge a claim with work cover.
Guaranteed.
Straight away.
Or within 30 days.
Because it's strictly speaking a work accident.
Well, that's
on the job.
right. Well, it is on the job. Now, with his common law claim or his common law rights, that's where he has to satisfy the TAC test or TAC threshold to commence those claims, which is serious injury. And the likely defendant would be, would you agree, Tony, would be the taxi driver who's indemnified by the TAC.
If he's got a serious injury as defined by the legislation and the case law, then he's got a claim against the taxi driver who's indemnified by the Transport Accident Commission.
That's
So it sounds to me that he should get advice. Josh,
Yep.
And
Good
definitely
advice.
lodge a work cover claim in the first instance anyway.
because he's
Straight away.
very young, it's important he does get advice because it might be long-lasting effects of the injuries that could impact on his future capacity to work.
Well, that's
And also just to financially help him, Tony, so that he can get on
for
payments
sure.
like in the first instance, because that's always hard for people that are injured.
That's
so,
exactly right.
Yeah. Well, okay, we hope that's answered your question, Josh. But we'll move on to the next question, which is from Ron in Clifton Hill, and he writes, DPI show, I was injured in a car accident about 4 years ago. It was a head-on collision with a drunk driver who was subsequently charged and convicted with dangerous driving. At the time, I suffered severe whiplash and a broken nose. My claim was accepted by TAC and they covered all of my medical and related expenses. I got on with my life, but I've never really gotten over the incident in my head. I get extremely nervous when I drive and often need to pull over and collect myself because I have panic attacks. Am I still entitled to TAC benefits? Don, interesting question. I mean, this is a post-effect of an accident that's occurred 4 years ago. Are there any rights that Ron can claim now?
Yes, definitely. I must say it's a very common type of injury, traumatic injury, psychological injury that follows on from accidents. Particularly in Ron's case, it sounds like a very, very, very nasty accident, and obviously it has its effects not only physically but ongoing psychologically. Now, with TAC, he's entitled to ongoing medical and like expenses. So I would think that his entitlements to, or his counselling should be paid by the TAC. There isn't any time limit, Tony, in terms of claiming medical expenses.
The only thing I'd highlight is that if TAC try to cut him off, it's important that he challenges any decision because you've only got 12 months.
That's right. That's right.
So,
Look, there might be obviously questions raised as to the. I mean, it's been 4 years since the accident, so is it something related to the accident? And that's where it's good to go to doctors and get medical certificates and obviously report what he's going through. But like I said, there's no time limit to claim medical expenses.
But 4 years in, you'd think that if he's suffering these sorts of injuries, he's probably got a reasonably good case for common law.
He may well.
Because I mean,
it looks like
4 years down the track, it's a significant amount of time.
That's right, and it's affected his driving, which nearly everyone drives these days, Tony. So if you can't drive, it's
of course.
very difficult thing.
Well, it's also extremely scary if he's having to pull over on the side of the road so that he can actually stop the panic attacks, because that could also cause further accidents. So he's doing the right thing. But
I should say
Yeah, sorry.
No, in terms of medical expenses, if the limit is that you've got 2 years to claim for an expense incurred. So if he hasn't claimed all his medical expenses and 2 years has passed, then he can't claim for that expense incurred.
But more importantly, he's got to lodge his claim within 12 months.
Well, that's right.
Well, no, he's got an accepted TSC claim, Tony. But also, I mean, if he hasn't actually been receiving treatment, now's the time to actually go do that.
Can I just say, people should understand that time is of the essence. You get a lot of people that sort of sit on their rights.
Yeah.
And I don't think they appreciate that if you don't lodge claims early, then you're going to have suspicion as to why you didn't do it.
Yeah.
Did it happen in the way you say it happened? It's very important that you lodge a claim to preserve your rights and protect your interests. Then if you get better, well and good. And if you don't, at least you don't have that initial suspicion about how someone got injured.
And report all your injuries to your doctors, just every single injury, because later on, maybe in Ron's case, for example, there might be an issue as to is it still something ongoing from the accident.
That's exactly
So
right.
if it was
There's a lot of
reported
people that sort of highlight maybe the main injury and they forget all the others. And the main injury gets better and the other ones get worse, and then you've got an issue of causation. Is it caused by the accident?
That's right.
But anyhow, look, the show sort of moved along pretty quick.
It has. Look, time flies when we've got questions. Why is it always my segment? I don't know. But look, we'd like for the viewers to keep writing in. I'd like to remind you of our email address, which is info@thepishow.com. And of course, you can catch up on earlier episodes, including Don's TAC updates at www.thepishow.com. And thank you again for watching. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, Kathy. Thanks, Don.
Thanks,
Thanks, viewers. Stay watching, stay tuned, and stay safe. Thank you.